All right, Madam Chair, the recording is, the recording is up on Facebook and we're live streaming.
Thank you very much. So this is the March 9th, 2021 meeting of the Housing and Community Development Committee. And we are meeting tonight to discuss the HUD year 47 funding and to get an overview of the different types of funding, the amounts, and the process for making awards for some of those. I want to note for the record that we have in attendance committee members Kelly Kimbrough, Richard Conti, and Joyce Love. And we also have in attendance Danielle Gillespie. And we're thrilled to have Faye Andrews here, who is the director of the Albany City Community, Albany Development Agency.
Actually, we're the Housing and Community Development Agency for the city, right?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I want to note that Councilmember Robinson joined us. He's also a committee member. So we have the full complement of the committee here. And with that, Faye, I'm going to turn it over to you to give an overview of the year 47 funding that we're getting from the feds, from HUD, and the different pockets, describe the different programs, and
sure.
So if the floor is yours.
Okay, I'll start sharing my screen and bring up a preliminary year 47 budget that I think you all received earlier today. Sorry. So we can start out. One thing I did want to let you know, we did receive our allocations from HUD, only about 2 weeks off schedule, which is kind of unusual given the past few years. So our plan will need to be submitted to HUD at the end of April. So, which isn't, usually it's April 15th, but in the past few years, it's been more submitted more in the months of May and even June sometimes. So you'll see each one of our funding streams are in this Excel worksheet. There's CDBG is the first one, home, ESG, and HUDPA. And at the top of each one of these pages is what our actual allocation is. So if you want to take a look at CDBG, the entitlement is 3.418421 million. It's down about each one of our funding streams were cut except for HUDPA. HUDPA went up a little bit. The other three went down, but just slightly. So it wasn't anything that would impact our budgeting and programming or anything. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're not used to the terminology. So when
I hear you. I know. I've got them all spelled out on the pages here for you. I was just giving a little overview of what was what the funding streams are like. But when you click on each one of those, it'll tell you what the acronyms are. So if you start with the first one, CDBG, that stands Community Development Block Grant, and that's what our typically is our biggest funding source, and also where the public service applications are submitted to us each year that we award to different organizations in the community. So our entitlement for CDBG this year was $3,418,421, and that it allows us to not only fund those organizations, but also fund some infrastructure projects in the city. It also allows us to fund our homeowner rehabilitation programs, our down payment programs, and that's pretty much it. Funds our staff that works for those programs. So if you want, do you want me to go right through all of these budget lines, or do you guys want to just ask me some questions? How do you want me to go about doing this part?
I think it would be good for you to go through each of the budget lines, but if we can stop right there and just see if any committee members have any questions at this point.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions? I do not, by the way, so while she's screen sharing, I do not have access to the raised hands in the screens. So if people could just shout out if they have a question. Hearing none, we'll move on.
Okay, so the top part of this budget form is for Department of General Services. There's an award that goes to them to support streets and sidewalks repairs in one of our target neighborhoods. Capitalize Albany also receives was my cat. Sorry about that. Capitalize Albany receives an economic development grant to provide technical assistance to small businesses located in our target areas. And the Department of Youth and Workforce Services receives a public service grant to support their programming out of the building on Clinton Avenue, 388 Clinton Avenue, which is the SEFCU building. Also, that probably everybody knows it by. And then as we go down through here, those come off the top, and then we have the remaining 3.1 million roughly to RFP out and then to support our program. So we did receive a decent number of applications this year, a lot of new applications, which I was happy about. I think that with the CARES Act funding that we RFP'd out this summer, that some of the organizations who typically hesitated to apply for funding because they thought it was more difficult to do, realized it wasn't so bad and not that hard, and that we would help them through the process. So we've got a good amount of new applicants this year, which is good. The Catholic Charities did submit an application to us for to support 2 evening case managers in their shelters, the longest shelter and Mercy House. That's a new CDBG application for us also, but it doesn't fit the public service category. So that's a different one there. So the total amount as of right now, we will do the award letters this week and send them out. I don't expect that too many people will have an appeal, but if they do, we'll take a look at that later on. But our total amount of funding for the public service as of right now is $395,000, which is a lot higher than what we normally have been able to RFP out. But we felt this year it was important to make sure that we're able to assist as many people. It's been a tough year for everybody, and it's important to get the funding out there. And I did supply you with another spreadsheet with the applicants and what their plans are for the programming, for the funding.
Do any committee members have any questions about that at this point, or any that?
Hey, I know you just said that you there's another spreadsheet with the plans. Is the funding allocation with those plans as well? Because I don't see them here.
No, there's no funding amounts listed on there because I haven't given those awards out, and I wanted to make sure that the people who received funding were the first ones to know what they received. Typically, they'll, as soon as I send those letters out, which will be by Friday, I will send all of you a spreadsheet with the updated numbers and everything.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions at this point, committee members? I don't think there are any other council members. Anybody have any questions? All right, Faye, continue on.
Sure. So then down below that, we have the CDBG funded in-house services, and those are the programs that we run right out of ACDA, the emergency repair programs, the senior emergency repair programs. That's the SRP is the senior rehab program. The RAP is the rehabilitation assistance programs. Both of those are $5,000 grants to homeowners who have an emergency that causes that would cause a health issue if they were to remain in the situation that they're in. A lot of times it fits, you know, if a boiler needs to be replaced or repairs to a roof, small items that need to be fixed immediately and can't wait. Then we have the HUDPA program, with it's the homeowner assistance program. That is the larger grant amounts awarded to homeowners who need assistance bringing their houses up to code. And then the HAP program is our down payment assistance program. The HAP and the HOAP programs typically can be used together. If a person's purchasing a new house but has some code related items that need to be addressed, we can apply the HAP, the HOAP program to that. The neighborhood revitalization funds, those are funds that are available throughout the program year. If there's a situation in a park that needs, you know, to be remedied, or if there's a neighborhood issue that we can assist with funding, they can come and apply to us for that. I think we've kind of discussed that the last time around. And then you've got the admin. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, on that. So we did discuss it the last time.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And do we have leftover funds from year 46?
We have a small amount, to be honest. What HUD allowed us to do last year was to, because of the pandemic, they allowed us to go over the public service cap, and they allowed us to use some of the funding that we had to support programs that address the COVID pandemic. So some of it went towards that, but there should be some left in there too. I can tell you for sure what the amount is. But.
Right. So Kelly and Joyce and Jamel, I just want to make sure that you keep your thinking caps on in terms of making sure that we make good use of that funding.
Sure, definitely. And then down to the next, the admin and the personnel services, that is all spelled out in those last few tabs of this workbook. It breaks it down by who's supported in the personnel and the positions, and some of the fees and things that we pay for in the OTPS, the other than personal services. And that should all be spelled out in that other tab there. Okay, any other questions? No?
All right.
Okay, so I can move on to our home funding. This funding is strictly, this is a lot more strict than our CDBG funding. This is to be used for housing purposes only. So we use a portion of this also to go towards our in-house rehabilitation programs. The one difference with this one, we have a program funded called TARP, which is a tenant assistant rehabilitation program, and that helps landlords who rent to low to moderate income individuals. It helps to bring their apartments up to code and to make the necessary rehabilitation to the units so that they're safe for people to live in. And the other portion of that, we are required to set aside a portion of the funding to an organization that's called a CHODO, which is Community Housing Development Organization. And right now, the only CHODO organization who applied to for funding to us right now is Habitat, and it will be used to support 3 new units of housing on Sheridan Ave, on the corner of Sheridan and Swan. So they'll be erecting new homes, and then they'll have 3 new homeowners in those homes too. And then
which one is that? What amount is that?
That's the 150 to Habitat for Humanity for Sheridan Hollow. It's called a CHODO. It's a community housing development organization.
So that's, I'm sorry, oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
And then,
thank you.
and then the Community Builders, they're an organization that has a lot of affordable housing available on Grand Street in the South End, and they actually applied to us for CDBG funding to support this project. It's to rehab 71 grand, I think, yeah. We moved it over to home just so that we would have the full amount of funding available in CDBG for the other activities, and it doesn't impact how they do the rehab or anything. It's just a different funding stream to use for that. And then the neighborhood HIP, neighborhood revitalization program, are the funds that are typically larger development organizations apply for that funding to support an application for a LIHTC, which is the low-income housing tax credit grants through the state. And they apply to us to support those applications.
Any questions, committee members? All right.
Okay.
And you have the administrative costs associated.
Right, yeah, and that's all spelled out. That's all outlined in the admin caps and the personnel and everything there too. Yep. So then we go to ESG, which is called Emergency Solutions Grant, and that will support organizations who serve individuals who are homeless in the city or who are at risk of being homeless. And the organizations that applied for funding are listed there. This is a small amount of funding compared to what is really needed right now, especially when it comes to eviction prevention. But you know, the Legal Aid Society and United Tenants are the two organizations who are about to be very busy when it comes to eviction prevention. But we're hoping that there'll be more funding that will be able to help them with that part of things, because our ESG funding is a drop in the bucket, I think, compared to what's going to be needed soon for people. But you know, these organizations have all done, they've had a really tough year. They've had to modify their shelters. They've had to do a lot of work to make them safe for the people who need them the most, and also for their staff. So you know, it's unfortunate. I was hoping that funding was going to increase this year, but it didn't. So hopefully next year. But that's also a pretty straightforward budget. It's really just a small portion comes out for admin and the rest goes to the organizations.
So Faye, I think that the Rescue Act that
Yeah.
the process of being passed appropriate for
Yes. Yeah, I think so too. I think that, and I know that funding has come to the county out of the last stimulus budget as well. I'm just curious what the numbers are going to be like when the time comes. I think they're going to be pretty high, but hopefully we'll be able to help as many as possible with it. Any questions on that budget? No?
Okay.
All right, we can move on to HUDPA. So HUDPA is funding that comes into the city. It's housing opportunity for persons with HIV and AIDS. This is the one funding stream that went up, still not by an awful lot, but I think it addresses the issues that people with HIV and AIDS are living longer and need the assistance more for a longer period of time. So the difference with this funding is it comes into the city of Albany, but it actually goes out to 3 counties. It goes to Albany, but it also goes to Troy and Schenectady, Rensselaer and Schenectady counties, sorry. So we are a pass-through for that funding to go to the other organizations, and CARES of Northeastern New York, HUD requested that they help us with the admin of that because they oversee the COC in all 3 of those counties and have a good handle on the organizations and the services and the people that need those services. So this is another one where the funding comes in, a small amount comes out for admin, and then the rest goes right to the organizations.
So Faye, is this $690 $95,999. Is that just for the portion that goes to Albany organizations?
Oh, that's to all of those organizations. Yeah, the full amount, the total funding is the 717,371. The admin comes out of that, the 21,372, and then the rest goes out to the organizations in each of the counties.
All right.
Okay. So do you want me to do the person? I mean, the personnel is kind of what was in the city budget at this point. It just shows you the breakdown from each different funding stream and how it's divided amongst each of the persons in our office and based on what they do in the office. So I don't know, if there's questions about that, I'm happy to ask them. I'm just not sure if there's anything else you want me to touch on that.
Any members, do you have any questions on that?
I don't have any questions.
All right, so
Okay.
let's move on.
Okay. The OT, other than personal services, this is our, items that the funding is used, that are not our staff persons. So we have currently, our CFO is a consultant. It's not a full-time staff person. We are also responsible to have our own individual audit. So we have a, portion of the funds set aside for that. It's just basically the things that help keep our organization running. That's not the personnel costs. Any questions there?
I don't have any. Sounds like nobody else does either. We've
And then
gotten a little used to this, I think.
Yeah, I know. I know. And now I'm going to have a whole new group. So this is how our admin caps are broken down. Each one of the funding streams does have a cap on it for how much can be charged to admin. And this is just the breakdown of what we're allowed to spend and how much we've allocated to each one of the funding streams. Okay, is that all good?
That's good.
Any questions other than that as of right now?
I don't have any on this. Do we want you, without screen sharing it, to refer people to the document that Danielle sent out? And I think that you can talk about some of the programming without necessarily that is in some of the grant awards without talking about, correct?
Yeah, I don't mind sharing the thing either. I think that all of the applications were really pretty good applications this time around. That we changed everything around to require. There were a lot of documents that HUD's been requiring. There's been a risk assessment that HUD requires. And so we really changed our process to address all of those things. And for the most part, I'm going to say everybody stepped up and did a really decent job. We accepted the applications without all of the documents, and then we went back to everybody and gave them a deadline to get them to us so that we could then review the applications. And everybody really did a good job. I think there's some really great activities going to be available this year to people in the city. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the new organizations and see.
Which ones are new?
I am going to have to pull it up for that. I can look at it and talk through it. Here, hang on.
Committee members, how do you feel about, some of you have looked at this document, Faye, but we can put it up if people are okay with that idea and recognizing that because some of the categories are broken down to one or two applicants, it gives you a pretty good idea of what the award
Right.
notices are.
Right, but I don't know if those organizations are going, they typically request their funding stream from the previous year. I'm not too concerned about those organizations, to be honest.
Then let's go ahead and have you.
Go ahead and do it.
put this
Okay.
up. Yeah.
Okay. So the new, let's see, how do we get, I gotta move you guys out of here. Okay. The new organizations, ACAP, Albany Fund for Education, they were funded last year. As was the Baby Institute, Black Nurses Coalition. They have a new program this year, a telehealth program, and I can't, honestly, I didn't come at a better time with what's going on. I think a lot of people are turning to that and will really benefit from that program. So while that's not a new organization, it is a new program this year that's taken a look at the climate and has I feel they've come up with a great idea and a great plan to serve people in a different way than they have in the past. The Boys and Girls Club, this is a new, team.
Can I just,
Yeah, sure.
as we're going through this, if any member wants you to stop and ask a question, chime in, just go ahead and chime in since I can't.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Just shout and I'll stop and answer your questions. The Boys and Girls Club, this teen program is a new application for them. It's kind of, I don't know if some of you remember, there used to be a teen program not a long time ago, but several years ago that operated out of the YMCA for youth age 13 to 18. It just gave them a positive opportunity and a place to go and to have some recreation opportunities. And so they're trying to resurrect that. Obviously, a lot of that's going to depend on the pandemic. By the time June rolls around, June 1st is the program start date. They may have to make some modifications to how they do their programming, but we felt it was important. Right now, there's kids are in need of a lot of activities, and there's as many as possible. So we thought that was important. The Ezra Prentice activity, that was one that was funded last year as well. PAL is in its second year of the baseball program at Crank Park. So the next two, the Radix Ecological Sustainability Center, that's new, as well as the South End Neighborhood Tutors. Both of them were applied for funding through the CARES Act and were able to provide summer programming. And the South End Neighborhood Tutors, they're a 100% volunteer organization, and they applied to funding for us to support a part-time executive director who will help bring the organization to the next level. And I think that's important. They did a great job with their CARES Act funding and provide a valuable service in the South End.
So this is a brand new organization. It's not.
No, and it's actually not even brand new. It's a valid 501c3 that's been in existence. They just have always been volunteer run, and now they've asked for funding to support a paid staff person.
Who are the leads on that particular organization?
We've been working with Deb Fagans. I don't know if you know Deborah Fagans. That's who we worked with in the summer, and they do have an executive director who will be our point person at that when that comes around. So,
all right.
The Red Bookshelf, was a program that was funded last year as well. I think everybody's familiar with the Red Bookshelf and the services they offer. Yes. The U.S. CRI Committee on Refugees and Immigrants, they were also an organization who received funding from us for the CARES Act, and they provided a number of laptops and tablets to individuals who were not able to get them any other way, so that there was a distance learning and an ESL opportunity for people even while they were home. And they want to continue to provide programming through the program year now in that one. In Our Own Voices, they're not a new organization in terms of funding, but they do have a new program to support seniors, which I think they're the only organization that applied to us for funding for seniors. And it's, you know, it's right now with everybody home and isolated, I think it was an opportune time for them to apply for something like that. Let's see, Equinox, any questions yet? Are we all okay? Okay. Equinox, that was a program that was run last year. It's a youth support program that runs out of the Boys and Girls Club, but it's staffed by individuals from Equinox. And then CEO Capital Employment Opportunity, sorry, Center for Employment Opportunity. It's a reentry program. They'll assist with job training for individuals who are previously incarcerated, and they'll help with job skills, job search, things like that. And that's a new application this year too. That is the total, right there is the total amount of funding for, as of right now, for the public service organizations. I would expect everybody will be comfortable with the funding levels. So, but I promise I'll send that out to all of you by Friday once I send the letters out to them. Any questions?
Thank you. Let's just recap a little bit about the evaluation process. You have certain standards that all of the applications are graded against, a standard application. And then
We do.
And how many people did the review?
We only had 2 people this time around. So they did a great job. That is the one area where I want to try to increase the number of people who do the reading and the evaluation next year. It's just, I mean, they did a great job with it, but it's a lot of reading for just 2 people. So that's an area where I'm hoping to improve next year on the amount of people we get.
And my understanding is all of the organizations except for one did get some level of funding.
Right. Yeah.
And that one organization that did not, it's because they're primarily serving the communities that are intended to be served.
Right.
By this funding.
Right, exactly. I'll explain more of that as after the letters and after I speak with them. There were too many individuals not from the city of Albany that were being able to use the program, and it was hard. There just wasn't an ability to demonstrate that they were serving low to moderate income residents of the city. And so I'm hoping we can work with them throughout the year to improve that and have a better application next time around.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
You had mentioned about the individuals, or 2 individuals reviewing the applications. Are those staff members?
No. No.
Those members from the community who review those applications?
Yes, they were members of the community. They were not staff persons. The staff persons did the initial review. We were the ones who checked all of the applications for completeness and sent letters out to them to gather the information and documents that we didn't have, but no, they weren't staff persons.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions, committee members? So at this point, you will send out the award notices
I will.
And then you will provide the committee, really, we should be providing this to the full, the information about the details about when you send out this letter
Mhm.
to individuals, that also notifies them of their ability to make an appeal to us.
It does.
They can submit information in writing, but they can also appear at our meeting on April 7th, when we have our public hearing, which is our next meeting on this.
Yep.
And at that point, we may act on the resolution, or there may be some questions that we will want to come back to on April 15th. Committee members, do you have any questions about the process, next steps, our role, anything? It sure does help when you're in the fourth year of having the same council.
Yeah, I know. What's that?
I said that they've been through this before.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's not all new terminology, not all new process any longer. And
Right.
so with regard to the funding that's available for other projects in the community,
Mhm.
are there any particular organizations that you generally expect will seek that kind of funding, or that is it stuff that sometimes is it spent with the city, or contractors at the city for improvements, additions to sidewalks or trees, or
Yes, to the city, not so much to the sidewalks and things. Last year, some of the funding supported, last year, yeah, the Black Lives Matter Park on Livingston Ave. So it not typically the city agencies as much as the improvements to the neighborhoods that are where it's needed. So it wouldn't be not like a staff issue or anything like that. It would be actual improvements to places.
and again, this is all based upon, this is all available to areas that are in certain tracks with a low
Correct, right. Yeah, we typically, that funding would be used typically in what we call the neighborhood strategy areas that we submit to HUD. And those are, North Albany, West Hill, West End, Arbor Hill, and the South End.
So, and there's a few, I want to say that there's a few others outside of that. For example, we were talking about more a portion of Morris Street, close to down in South Park area.
Right. So 51% of the neighborhood has to be low to moderate income, and it has to be a residential neighborhood. And those are the two caveats from HUD that that we have to abide by.
So before I entertain a motion to adjourn, does anybody have anything that they want to clarify, or questions, comments, anything? All right, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Richard Conti has made a motion and Joyce Love has second. All in favor? I want to close by thanking Faye for such a good, concise, clear presentation on this.
Finally, I figured it out, right?
And I look forward to us all meeting again on 7th.
Sounds good. And I will forward any appeal letters that I get to Danielle so that she can send them out to everybody.
And just so everybody knows, I've also let Danielle know that if she happens to get any comment on this, or anything that looks like an appeal, any comment, that they should also be shared with Faye and make those, take that into
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. Good night, everybody. Have a
Good night.
Thank you.